It felt harmless until the tingling, the lack of sensation, and the quiet shame became louder than the relief itself. It usually begins as a simple escape, just a screen, a private moment, and the hope for quick relief. For men over 60, especially those navigating solitude or physical changes, pornography may feel like a harmless habit. But beneath that surface, it can quietly rewire the mind in ways that deeply affect emotional connection, physical performance, and self-worth. Scientific studies on aging and neuroplasticity show that repeated exposure to intense visual stimuli, like explicit content, floods the brain with dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and motivation. However, as we age, the brain's sensitivity to dopamine naturally decreases. When this is combined with frequent overstimulation, it can lead to a form of desensitization. What used to feel satisfying now barely registers. Many older men begin to notice this subtly. A real touch feels muted. Intimacy with a partner becomes awkward or disconnected. Even memories of past passion start to feel distant, as if your body forgot how to respond. This isn't a failure of masculinity. It's a chemical shift in the brain, triggered by repetition without emotional engagement. There's also a physical cost. Excessive masturbation driven by porn is often rushed, forceful, and disconnected from the body's natural rhythms. Over time, this mechanical pattern can affect nerve sensitivity and blood flow, especially in the pelvic area, two critical factors for sexual health in aging men. The result: reduced sensation, delayed or absent climax, or even erectile dysfunction not caused by any disease, but by habit. The emotional toll is just as heavy. When pleasure becomes predictable and mechanical, it loses its meaning. Instead of feeling energized or content afterward, many men report feeling empty, irritable, or even ashamed. That's because the act no longer feeds the spirit, it just fills a gap. But there's a way out. Your brain is more flexible than you think, even past 60. By reducing exposure to artificial stimuli, slowing down the process, and bringing awareness back to the body, you can begin to reverse the damage. Small shifts, like mindful breathing, turning off the screen, or allowing emotion to enter the experience, can lead to deeper, healthier forms of pleasure. This isn't about giving anything up. It's about reclaiming what's been lost. Your sensitivity, your connection, your dignity. If you've felt something change but couldn't explain it, if you've ever wondered why satisfaction feels just out of reach, now you have an answer. And more importantly, you have a choice. At first glance, it might seem harmless, even convenient. For many older men, the bathroom becomes more than just a place of relief. It's quiet, it's private, and for some, it's the only space where they feel safe to explore pleasure. But here's the part no one talks about. The way you sit, the position you adopt, and how often you do it can silently sabotage your health below the belt. Let's start with circulation. When you sit on the toilet, especially in a hunched position with your body leaning forward, you create pressure on the pelvic floor, a network of muscles that support your bladder, prostate, and even erectile function. Over time, that pressure reduces healthy blood flow to the genitals. And for men over 60, where circulation is already naturally declining, that's a dangerous trade-off. You might be thinking, but I don't stay there long. The truth is, most men don't even realize how long they're seated. Whether browsing your phone, watching something explicit, or simply zoning out, minutes turn into tens of minutes. And while you're focused on stimulation, your body is quietly enduring strain in your spine, your hips, and especially your pelvic region. This position also affects nerve health. The pudendal nerve, responsible for sensation in the genitals, can become compressed when you sit improperly for extended periods. That compression can dull your sensitivity or lead to discomfort during or after masturbation. Some men even begin to experience tingling or a numb sensation afterward, blaming age, when in fact it's posture. But perhaps the most overlooked issue is the impact on bladder control. When your pelvic muscles are weakened by poor posture and repeated strain, they stop functioning at full capacity. This can lead to dribbling, urgency, or even leakage, symptoms that are often misattributed to an aging prostate alone. So what can you do? First, change the environment. Masturbation doesn't belong on a toilet. Your body deserves a relaxed, respectful space, like a comfortable chair or bed, where your muscles aren't tense and your mind isn't rushing. Second, practice sitting with your back straight and your feet planted. Avoid curving your lower back or clenching your abdomen. And finally, if you're spending more than 5 minutes in that position, it's time to rethink the habit. You deserve a body that works with you, not against you. And that starts with the smallest choices, like where and how you sit. Every man over 60 deserves pleasure without pain, presence without pressure. And sometimes the most meaningful change begins not with a pill or a doctor's visit, but with something as simple as standing up and choosing better. For many older men, the act of self-pleasure has quietly become a task, something to get over with rather than something to enjoy. It's quick, it's mechanical, and often it's done with little thought beyond the end goal. But this fast-forward approach, repeated week after week, has a hidden cost, one that slowly erodes both physical function and emotional satisfaction. As we age, the body naturally requires more time to warm up, respond, and recover. Hormonal shifts, especially in testosterone and dopamine, mean the nervous system needs more patience and gentleness to fully engage. But when you rush, whether out of habit, shame, or lack of time, you cheat your body out of the process it needs. To function well, imagine trying to sprint before stretching stiff muscles. Now imagine doing that every time. Eventually something gives. In this case, it's often the nervous system. Quick, intense stimulation trains your body to expect speed, but that also triggers stress responses. Instead of activating oxytocin or endorphins, which promote calm and bonding, your system floods with cortisol, the stress hormone. The result? You may feel more anxious or agitated after the act, instead of relaxed or uplifted. There's also the issue of muscle tension. Fast-paced stimulation often leads to clenching of the thighs, the abdomen, even the jaw. These patterns, when repeated over time, can cause tightness in the pelvic floor and even contribute to chronic pain or premature release. Some men even report a loss of sensitivity, a troubling feeling that their body just isn't responding like it used to. But it's not just physical. Emotionally, rushing strips the act of connection. You're not present. You're not tuned into what your body is saying. There's no room for intention, for breath, for pleasure beyond release. And that absence becomes a pattern, not just in solo moments, but in how you approach intimacy with others. Relationships begin to reflect this same lack of presence, quick, distracted, unfulfilling. The truth is, slowing down isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Take time to notice your breath, feel your heartbeat, shift your focus. From the finish line to the experience itself, try even 5 minutes of slow, mindful touch without worrying about performance. Let your body guide the pace, not the clock. You may be surprised how much sensation returns when you give yourself time. Pleasure after 60 isn't supposed to feel rushed, robotic, or numb. It can and should feel intentional, grounded, and deeply satisfying. But that kind of experience only comes when you choose to slow down, because in a world that tells you to hurry, the boldest choice you can make is to be fully present with yourself, with your body, and with this moment. You go through the motions. The room is silent, the screen glows, and before you even realize it, it's over. Again. For many men past 60, masturbation has slowly transformed from a moment of pleasure into an automatic routine. No emotion, no connection, just a habit. And that habit over time can quietly steal one of the most sacred parts of being alive, the joy of truly feeling. Pleasure was never meant to be mechanical, but when you treat it like a task, a way to kill time, fall asleep, or escape loneliness, it becomes just that. Your body starts to respond not with fire but with fatigue. Your mind checks out, and what was once a vibrant, life-giving act begins to feel like nothing at all. This disconnection doesn't just affect your private moments. It seeps into your relationships, your self-esteem, even your view of intimacy. You may find yourself more irritable, more withdrawn, or oddly empty after what should have been a moment of release. That's not by accident. The human body is wired for emotional context, especially in acts that involve touch, vulnerability, and desire. When you remove emotion from pleasure, you remove its meaning. And without meaning, all that's left is repetition. But here's the good news: you can bring it back. Start by setting an intention. Not just, I want release, but I want to feel something real. Turn off the screen, light a candle, play music that makes you feel calm. These may sound small or even silly, but they signal to your brain that something different is happening, something worth your full attention. Then, slow down, breathe deeply, touch your body like it matters. Because it does. You're not a machine built to function. You're a human being built to feel. You may be surprised at what returns: warmth, sensation, even emotion, grief, joy, tenderness that had been waiting under the surface. These are not weaknesses. They are signs that you're reconnecting. And if the idea of emotion during self-pleasure feels foreign or uncomfortable, ask yourself, who taught you that it shouldn't be there? Who told you that men should be hard, fast, and silent, even in solitude? The truth is, aging doesn't strip away your capacity for depth. It expands it if you let it. The body changes, yes, but your inner life, your emotional core, that can grow richer with every year. So don't settle for a joyless routine. You deserve to feel something again. And it starts with bringing your heart back into the room. You've spent decades in your body. You've been through triumphs, failures, joys, griefs, and somewhere along the way, quietly, gradually, pleasure may have become something rushed, forced, or simply forgotten. But here's the truth that often gets buried beneath silence and shame. It's never too late to come back to yourself. And that return doesn't need to be bold. It can be gentle. Your body isn't broken. It's wise. It remembers. It's been trying to speak to you all along through tension, numbness, fatigue, or longing. What it needs now isn't more pressure. It needs kindness, attention, and patience. A comeback after 60 doesn't look like it did at 20. It's not about performance or intensity, it's about connection. You're not chasing a goal, you're building a relationship with yourself. A slow one, a sacred one. Maybe that means turning off the noise and simply breathing before touch. Maybe it means saying no to artificial stimulation and yes to real presence. Maybe it means embracing the awkwardness of change and meeting your body with curiosity instead of frustration. With each mindful breath, each gentle movement, you're sending a new message. I'm here. I care. I'm listening. And that changes everything, because something beautiful happens when you stop trying to fix your body and start honoring it. You begin to notice sensations again: warmth, pleasure, even emotion. You begin to feel whole, not just functional. You begin to heal. Not because you forced it, but because you gave yourself permission to be human again. This journey isn't linear. There will be setbacks, there will be days you don't feel anything, that's okay. Progress at this stage of life isn't measured in intensity. It's measured in awareness and in how often you choose care over habit. So let this be your invitation, not to do more, but to do differently. You've earned this return, not just to pleasure, but to presence, to peace, to dignity, and every step you take, no matter how small, is a comeback worth celebrating. If you've made it this far, it means you care, not just about pleasure, but about feeling alive again. And that already makes you different. Most men never ask these questions, never stop to reflect, never choose presence over habit, but you just did. So don't keep this journey to yourself. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content made for men like you, honest, practical, and grounded in real care. Leave a comment below. Tell me, where are you watching from? What part of this message hit home for you? And if you found this video helpful, click like, not for the algorithm, but to let others know they're not alone, because healing doesn't happen in silence. It begins with awareness, and it grows in community. Ask most men over 60 what the pelvic floor is, and you'll likely get a blank stare. It's not something we were taught in school. It's rarely mentioned in checkups. But quietly, this group of muscles is one of the most important players in a man's health, especially when it comes to control, performance, and long-term well-being. The pelvic floor is a network of muscles that sits like a hammock beneath your pelvis. It supports the bladder, the rectum, and, crucially, the prostate and penis. When these muscles are strong, they help control urination, support erectile function, and maintain healthy blood flow in the genital area. But when they're ignored, problems show up in ways that feel confusing, embarrassing, and, for many men, deeply frustrating. Let's start with bladder control. Bladder. If you've noticed a small leak when you laugh or cough, or if you've ever felt urgency before making it to the bathroom, your pelvic floor may be part of the problem. Over time, these muscles weaken from inactivity, poor posture, or lack of awareness, and no amount of medication can fully replace what they're meant to do naturally. Now consider sexual performance. Erections aren't just about blood flow, they're also about muscle tone. The pelvic floor plays a direct role in trapping blood in the penis and maintaining firmness. When these muscles are weak, it's harder to sustain an erection, and even climax can feel weaker or incomplete. Some men describe it as fizzling out, a slow decline they can't quite explain. But here's the hopeful truth. You can rebuild strength. Just like any other muscle group, the pelvic floor responds to attention, care, and consistent training. The most well-known approach is called the Kegel exercise, gently contracting the same muscles you use to stop the flow of urine, holding for a few seconds, then releasing. No one can see you do it. You can practice while watching TV, brushing your teeth, or even lying in bed. Start small, 5 repetitions once or twice a day. Focus on breathing calmly and avoiding clenching other areas like the thighs or abdomen. With time, many men report better control, stronger sensations, and even more confidence, both in daily life and in intimate moments. Ignoring the pelvic floor doesn't make it go away. It only ensures that its silence becomes louder through symptoms you deserve to understand and address. Aging doesn't mean decline. It means adjusting, learning, and respecting the body in new ways. So ask yourself, if you've taken care of your arms, your heart, your memory, why not the very muscles that support your manhood? It's never too late to reconnect with the foundation that holds everything together. When it comes to masturbation, most men only ask one question: am I doing it too much? But the real issue isn't just how often, it's how your body is responding. For men over 60, both excessive and insufficient frequency can quietly harm physical and emotional health in ways few are prepared for. Let's talk about doing it too much first. As testosterone levels naturally decline with age, your body's ability to recover from stimulation slows down. If you're frequently engaging in intense or rushed masturbation, daily or even multiple times a day, you might notice fatigue, lower libido, difficulty maintaining an erection, or even discomfort around the prostate. That's not coincidence. It's your body asking for rest. Excessive stimulation also affects your nervous system. Overuse can keep your body in a heightened state of arousal, where cortisol, the stress hormone, remains elevated while beneficial chemicals like oxytocin and serotonin are suppressed. You finish feeling depleted instead of satisfied. In the long run, this pattern may erode your mood, your energy, and even your motivation to engage with real-life relationships. But what about doing it too little? Surprisingly, avoiding masturbation altogether can also lead to issues, especially in older men. When the body goes extended periods without any sexual stimulation, blood flow to the genitals decreases. Over time, this can lead to tissue atrophy, loss of elasticity, and weaker nerve signaling, all of which affect sensation and performance. In short, both extremes can work against you. So, what's the balance? Science doesn't offer a one-size-fits-all answer because every man is different. But for most older adults, a healthy rhythm seems to fall somewhere between once and twice a week, depending on your energy levels, interest, and overall well-being. What matters most is the quality of the experience, not just the number of times. If you're using masturbation to avoid emotions, escape boredom, or fall asleep, it's worth pausing. Ask yourself what your body really needs. Is it touch? Is it connection, or is it simply comfort? On the flip side, if you've stopped altogether out of shame, fear, or belief that aging means giving up on pleasure, that narrative needs rewriting, you're still here. Your body still feels, and your sexuality still matters. Not just for release, but for health, vitality, and emotional connection. Frequency isn't about being right or wrong. It's about being honest with yourself. Listen to what your body is saying, respect its rhythms, and remember, pleasure isn't a chore or a trap. It's a conversation, and that conversation becomes much richer when you find your rhythm. Not out of guilt or habit, but from care. It's something most men never talk about, yet almost every man has done it, using extra pressure during masturbation to feel something. For men over 60, this habit often begins subtly. You may notice a slight decrease in sensation and instinctively respond by tightening your grip, increasing intensity, or trying harder to recreate past pleasure. But that innocent adjustment can quietly become a destructive cycle. Let's get straight to the truth. Your penis is made up of delicate blood vessels, nerves, and connective tissues, not armor. As you age, these structures become more vulnerable to injury. Applying too much pressure, whether with your hand or by grinding against a surface, can lead to micro tears in the tissues, nerve desensitization, and vascular compression. You may not notice the damage immediately, but over time, it adds up. Some men begin to experience curvature, tenderness, or a subtle ache afterward. Others report decreased sensitivity or find that erections don't last as long. What's happening? Here isn't just aging. It's structural fatigue caused by repetitive strain. The more force you use to chase sensation, the more you blunt your body's natural ability to feel it. And here's something few understand. The harder the grip, the less likely you are to respond to real human touch. This is often called death grip syndrome, a condition where men become so conditioned to firm, artificial pressure that normal intimacy feels weak or unsatisfying. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means your nervous system has been retrained, and it can be retrained again. So what can you do? First, reduce the intensity. Shift from force to presence. Try using a gentler hand, taking longer to warm up, or incorporating breathwork and relaxation into the experience. At first, it may feel like you're doing less, but in reality, you're reawakening your body's ability to respond to subtlety, which is essential for long-term pleasure and function. You might also experiment with using your non-dominant hand or changing position to interrupt old patterns. This isn't about performance, it's about restoration. You're not chasing the past, you're building a better present. And finally, remember this: pain is not a sign of masculinity. Numbness is not a badge of endurance. Your body is not a machine to be used. It's a system to be cared for, especially now. With age comes wisdom, and with wisdom comes the choice to stop forcing and start listening. Because when you treat your body with gentleness, it often responds with something far greater than just release. It gives you back your sensation, your confidence, and your joy.